morning, all. Welcome to the Internet of Things course being conducted by MindMajix organization. About myself, I'm having 9+ years of experience in field of teaching and training, worked on various projects based on robotics and IoT, presently working as an IoT trainer in a training institute, working experience on Raspberry Pi, Arduino, and ESP8266 Node MCU boards, worked as an assistant professor and robotics trainer in an engineering college for last 7 years, and as an online trainer in the field of IoT and robotics. Worked on IoT projects based on cloud as pushing the data on the cloud and visualizing it. And guided many engineering students for their projects based on IoT and robotics. So, what is the agenda for today? Like what we will do for today? I will explain the introduction of Internet of Things. Next, characteristics of IoT, physical design of IoT, hardware for IoT, Raspberry Pi GPIO concepts, sensing and actuation, growth and application sector. We should know what is the definition of IoT. So IoT is called as Internet of Things. IoT refers to the collection of all those devices that have the ability to connect to the internet. They collect and share data, hence the name Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is a scenario in which objects or people are provided with unique identifiers or the ability to transfer the data over a network without requiring human to human or human to computer interaction. So IoT enables the objects to be sensed while also controlling it remotely, which enables better interaction of physical world to the computers and enabling all the devices to send and receive data because data is everywhere. We just have to collect it and convert it to the meaningful information. What does a thing mean to IoT? Things refers to a variety of devices, not just one device become things. Anything to qualify as a thing require identity, means it can be assigned an IP address. The thing can monitor, measure, etc. means a temperature sensor could be a thing. Things are capable of exchanging data or sharing with other connected devices in the area. Like some examples of thing are a person with heart monitor implant. Like we have a patient in which we have implanted an embedded chip in the heart of the patient, which will monitor the health status of the patient and will monitor like blood pressure, heart rate, pulse rate. So the device will automatically message the required information to the doctor and the family member of the patient. So this can be done only with the help of IoT. Next, a farm animal with a biochip transponder. Like we also can place a chip on the ears of animals, farm animals, which will help us to recognize, to evaluate the movement of the animals. Like if a cow is moving in a farm, then we can be aware that how much the movement of the cow is there, and this can also increase the production of the milk. So this will helpful to the farmer to analyze the movement of cow. Next, an automobile that has a built-in sensor to alert the driver when the tire pressure is low. So if we have a car equipped with sensors, so the driver is alerted if there is some low pressure in the tire of the car. Okay, so the tire can be filled in time without having any disturbance for that. So IoT is the combination of all hardware, software, data, and service. Next, some of the famous things we are aware of, like temperature sensor, pressure sensor, humidity sensor, and the data from above sensors are collected in real time and sent to the cloud. Sometimes it could be a local server. So the exchange of meaningful information from one device to another based on the data analysis, the control action would be taken. Not just sensors, the following also can be called as things like industrial motors, wearables, vehicles, and shoes. So what IoT is? So it is a combination of A's and C's. A's means globalization of network, like anytime, any device, anyone, any service, any business, any network, anywhere. And C reflects the properties of IoT such as collection, convergence, connectivity, computing, and so on. So it is a combined effect of A and C that we can connect any device anywhere and we can access the data from it. Next are the characteristics of IoT. So there are a few characteristics of IoT which we have to keep in mind, like connectivity. Connectivity is the main part for these characteristics. Like we have different sensors and processors and actuators that I will explain in the next coming slides. So connectivity is the main part, that these devices must be connected to each other. After that, they will exchange the data. Okay. So connectivity means we have to connect all the devices together to retrieve some of the information, and that information will be posted to the cloud to access that information anytime, anywhere. Next is intelligence and identity. So the devices that come under this IoT must be intelligent enough, like they have to take the decisions that what is the next action we have to take. And identity means they are being identified because they have their own IP address. So we can identify these devices on the cloud itself. Next is scalability. Scalability is the ability of device to adapt to the changes in environment and meet the changing needs of the future. So the devices that are being in this category, they are able to adapt themselves according to the environment. Next is dynamic and self-adapting complexity. What it means is IoT devices can be dynamically adapted with sensed environment, their operating conditions, and user context. They can be able to upgrade the software whenever they are connected to the internet. Next is architecture. Architecture means if we are connecting an IoT device, then how the data will be posted to the cloud. So the complete journey of data will come under this architecture of IoT, like from the things, from the sensors, the data is collected. Then the data is passed through the gateway. So gateway is a device which provide the transfer of data from things to the cloud. And in response, it receives the commands that are coming from the cloud to the things. Next is safety. So safety is the big concern, as we have a big industry and we want to post this data to the cloud. So we must have to take steps for the safety and security of the data. So that is the big issue. So these are the few characteristics of the IoT that we have to keep in mind to work in an IoT environment. Next is the physical design of IoT. Physical design of IoT means if we have an IoT device, then it must be designed like to work in an Internet of Things environment. We have a processor which is named as Raspberry Pi. So in this slide, you can see that this is a processor which is named as Raspberry Pi. So we can call it an IoT device because it has necessary ports that are required to work in an IoT environment. So we will discuss all of them one by one. Like we have connectivity. Connectivity means these are the two ports that are used to connect the external devices like mouse and keyboard to the Raspberry Pi. And this is the Ethernet port in which we can connect the Ethernet cable, like LAN cable, to connect this device to the internet. And second one is the processor. So this device is having a Broadcom processor that is in the middle of the device, you can see. So this processor provides all the actions that are necessary to take, like it receives command from the input from the sensors and take necessary actions to the output to actuate some actuators. Next is audio video interface. So audio video interface means we have these HDMI ports and display port to connect this device to the external monitor. Next, we are having input output interface. So these are actually the pins. These are input output interface. There are 40 pins in this device, which we can call as GPIO pins, general purpose input output pins. So these pins can be used to connect input devices and output devices to this device. Next is storage interfaces. On the back side of this device, we are having a port in which we can connect the external memory card to this port. So this device can be used as a storage interface where we can store some information to the device. Next is graphics unit. So it is having a graphic unit, like it has a display port which can be connected with the external monitor. Next is memory part. So memory part is very important to store any type of information on the device. Like we have different memory sizes available with this Raspberry Pi. Like we have 2 GB RAM, we have 4 GB RAM, we have 8 GB RAM. That comes under all this memory part. So this all is the physical design of IoT, in which we study about the devices that come under this category. So next is sensing and actuation. Sensing means to sense any changes in the environment. So sensors are the input devices that collect the information from the environment and pass this information to the processor. And processor will take the action that what the next step will have to do. So we have different sensors here, like ultrasonic sensor. It is used for measuring distance. If we want to measure the distance of object from our device, then we can use this sensor. Next is optical sensor, IR sensor. IR sensor is used to detect the presence of object, whether it is present or not. Next is LDR sensor. LDR means light dependent resistor. It works on the based on the intensity of light. Gas sensor, which detects the presence of gas and other particles in the environment. Next is gyroscope sensor, that is also being used in different applications, like we have to make projects for it. And so these are the sensors to collect information from the environment. Next is sensor types. So there are other sensors also which can be used to make different projects, like light dependent resistor, photodiode, thermocouple, thermistor, strain gauge, pressure switch, potentiometer, reflective optocoupler, carbon microphone, piezoelectric crystal, liquid chemical sensor. So these are all sensors that are being used in different projects to collect the values. Next is actuation part. Actuation is also very important part because it this part plays an important role in output of a device. Like we are getting information from the sensors, and processor is taking action that what next to do. So it gives command to the actuator to work on it. Okay, so actuator is a component of a machine or system that moves or controls the mechanism. An actuator is the mechanism by which a control system acts upon the environment. It requires a control signal and source of energy. Upon receiving a control signal, the actuator responds by converting the energy into mechanical motion. So these are the few actuators that are explained. Like for hardware, we have mechanical and electronic systems, and for software, we have printer, driver, robot control systems. These are following actuator types which can be used in different industries like hydraulic, pneumatic, electrical, mechanical, and thermal and magnetic. So these are the few examples of actuator like which we can see in our day-to-day environment. Like this is a linear pneumatic actuator. This is a oil-based hydraulic actuator and a motor driver-based rotary actuator. So these are the different types of actuator which are used in industries to perform some action. So this is a complete example of sensor and actuator that you can see. Like we have placed a moisture sensor in our bar which detects the presence of moisture. So what it does, it the soil moisture sensor detects unwanted water content. So it detects the unwanted water content in the park and it sends an information to the control center where the center takes action that what the next action is to be done. So it gives a command to the water pump to stop pumping more water. Okay, so the water pump will be switched off automatically by having the command from control center. So this we can say the complete function of sensor and actuators, complete working of sensor and actuator. Growth and applications. IoT is an emerging field nowadays. So the growth is more because moreover the more devices are connected in our day-to-day life. Like each human being is having more than 5 to 6 devices connected with the internet. Like we have tablets, we have laptops, we have wristbands, we have Bluetooth sensors. So all these devices are connected with IoT. So they are increasing the variety and increasing velocity also. And we have a huge volume of data in this field. So in this case, as you can see, in 2003, there were around less like 6.3 billion devices were connected with the IoT. Now we have 15 billion plus devices that are being connected in 2020 and the coming years. So that is the advantage of IoT. Like we have different devices that are being connected with it in the coming years also. Now, what is the need of IoT? So the next industrial revolution, which is going to change our lives in ways never imagined before. The last industrial revolution, which is nothing but the internet. The way we communicate and connect with people has changed like never before. And also the internet boom has improved our lives in many ways. So there are few applications of IoT, like we can do home automation. We can turn on and off our home appliances with the help of this IoT through our mobile phone. Medical and healthcare, that I have also given an example before because uh, in this medical industry, we can use IoT to track the positions, to track the health status of patients. Next is environmental monitoring, that we can monitor the temperature and different parameters on our mobile. Energy management, we can use smart meters to manage our energy. So these are the few applications that are being used in this IoT. And smart irrigation system in that I have also explained earlier in the session. Like it all automatically control the motion of the pump and transportation. So we have self-driving cars, we have cars equipped with sensors, which will be very much used to know the actual position of different parameters working in car. We can be alerted by having alerts from these devices. So these topics we have covered. Now I will show you how we can, what are the course outlines that we will do in this course, like introduction of Internet of Things. So we will study different applications, standards, requirements, and technologies in the used in the IoT environment. Next, the major components of IoT like hardware and sensors, that how we can use, how we can connect sensors along with the processor, the role of wire and wireless communication. And next is we will be come to know like the difference between M2M and IoT, like machine to machine communication and IoT. And we will also study different IoT platforms and challenges to adapt. Overview of IoT connectivity methods and technologies, like we will study different technologies working in the field of IoT like Zigbee, Bluetooth, RFID, 6LoWPAN, IEEE standards. So these are different technologies and protocols that are being used in IoT environment. Next, we will study the sectorization part, in which we will study GSM, CDMA, GPRS. These are the latest technologies that are being used in today's environment. And IPv6, IPv4, that is Internet Protocol version 4 and version 6. And we will also study cloud computing and augmented reality. That is the hot topic nowadays. Next, we will study the evolution of IoT, like different platforms, how we can visualize data on the cloud, what is end-to-end capabilities, application architecture and life cycle in real time. So that all the course of outline, in which we have 30 hours course, and we will study each and every concept in detail. Add-on topics like IoT is an emerging trend and it has the potential to impact a variety of industries. So Internet of Things is a general term used for devices talking over a network for the purpose of monitoring, analysis, and control without any human interference. Building your own project on IoT will help you practically learn how engineering is applied on this amazing technology. Through this training, you will learn about the essentials of Raspberry Pi, specifically required for Internet of Things technology. You will master Python on Raspberry Pi, accessing GPIO commands, hosting data on cloud, etc. There are some additional course resources, session videos, documents, useful references, sample resumes, resume preparation guidance that will be provided by us. And in case of projects, we have two different projects, like first is to detect the presence of an object using IR sensor with Raspberry Pi. In this, we will be using infrared sensor along with Raspberry Pi to detect the presence of object. And this sensor is used to make line following robots and other different objects in the field of robotics. And in second project, I will show you to measure the real-time values of temperature and humidity with DHT11 sensor and show it on a cloud platform. So we will use DHT11 sensor for measuring temperature and humidity values with Raspberry Pi and post it on cloud. So this device is a Raspberry Pi, which we can see. It has 40 GPIO pins. So this is DHT11 sensor, which we will connect with Raspberry Pi, and will get the values of temperature and humidity. So I will show you how we are getting the values. This is a Raspberry Pi desktop, which I have connected my DHT11 sensor along with Raspberry Pi. So I can show you the real-time values of temperature and humidity that is coming from this sensor. So I just type here. This is a terminal window of Raspberry Pi. So I will type here as sudo Python 3 dht.py. So you can see that the values of temperature and humidity is coming live from this sensor. So this way we can connect the sensor along to the Raspberry Pi to have different values of temperature and humidity. So it is showing you the live value of temperature and humidity from DHT11 sensor. So I'll show you how I have written the program. So this is a program on Raspberry Pi I have written through Python. The sensor I have used is DHT11, and here I have mentioned the pin number that it is connected to the GPIO 4 to have values of temperature and humidity in real time. This will be explained in this course: how to connect Raspberry Pi, how to install Raspberry Pi, how to connect sensor, and how to write the program with Python. Okay, so this way we can collect different values by using live sensor along with Raspberry Pi. Next is a mock interviews, in which we will be discussing about some mock interview questions in the session, and will make you crack any type of interviews to get job in IoT field. Okay, so the students will be explored to the interconnection and integration of the physical world and cyberspace, and also to design and develop IoT applications. So students will be able to understand the building blocks of IoT and characteristics, and able to realize the revolution of internet in mobile devices and cloud sensor networks. Certification: our IoT course covers all the topics that are required to clear IoT certifications. After course completion, you will be eligible for job in IoT field and get certified. Thank you for attending this demo. Please share your feedback and contact us for queries related to course scope, schedule, references, cost, and payment options. Thank you.